Hello, welcome again to another video. Someone asked me recently why I'm bothering doing this channel, Manchester United thing. And there are two reasons really, so I wanted to explain it, not in a short video, but in a bit of a longer one. I think the main reason is, like anyone would do a Manchester United channel or any football channel, it's because of the love of the club. Um, I've had a great interest on and off with Manchester United since the 60s, believe it or not, if I look that old. Time flies, anyone my age knows that. And I remember I used to go there with my dad. I had a season ticket, and I think that's always the introduction through a parent, isn't it? And I think at the time I was more interested in the meat pie. I remember once having two. Anyway, I'd go there and he'd shout a lot, and I couldn't see properly, and because I was, too small at the time. I was a child. But I remember the greats, and Manchester United always seemed to be the best team. It still seems like that to me now, even though those days have gone. I'm talking about the days of like Sammy McIlroy. When Tommy Docherty was the manager, and loads of people I knew had United shirts and scarves. It was Bay City Rollers time, like the 1970s. So yeah, McIlroy, Brian Kidd, Steve Coppell, Alex Stepney, one of the great keepers really. To a lesser degree, George Best, because he was like fizzling out by then. But they were great days. But they weren't hugely successful days, I don't suppose, for the club. I think those days were the late 90s, really, when I look back. So, and I think Brian Robson was a bridge into that from like the 80s into the 90s. But I always had that fascination, and it's waxed and waned, really. Um, in the 90s, I mean, there are too many big stars to mention, probably. I remember us having four strikers at one point. We had Cole and York, Sheringham and Solskjaer at the front. I mean, four strikers like that to choose from. It's just spoilt for choice. It's just like in the last 2 years we haven't had one. Since Ten Hag sacked Ronaldo, there hasn't really even been one striker, has there? And you think we had four there in the 90s and early noughties. Um, and of course the great Champions League victory and in the 90s, and victories, and the treble and things like that. It's just like amazing times. Not only the four strikers, that whole team, that cohesion that team had was formulated when they were children. Like Paul Scholes, Giggs, Nicky Butt, Beckham, um, the Nevilles. They were all around Manchester. They all lived together, ate together, laughed together. And I think that's why the team had such a solidarity, which it doesn't have now. What you've got is a team of mercenaries, Great players, not so much great in the last 2 years, but, when you've got mercenaries coming from all over the world just to get as much money as they can, it's different, You all know the story about Ryan Giggs and his car and Ferguson and that, and how Ferguson used to rule him with a rod of iron. There were different times. I'm going to say there were different times. It's only 25 years ago, but that's a generation ago. That was before woke and before the world changed. So there's some great players then held together by Captain Keano. I mean, what? Just a super player. I remember seeing him in the Trafford Centre when he was pushing a pram with his kid in it, and I thought, oh, I wonder if I should go and ask for an autograph. And he had a look on his face. I thought, Christ, no, I won't. I won't bother. But and then he's since come out about all that. He hates being asked, doesn't he? I'm glad I didn't go. He looked really nasty at the time. You know what I mean? It was like when he had a shaven head. in the Trafford Centre. I don't know what year it would be, but it would have been about 25 years ago. So you had Keane and you had Beckham crossing from the outside down the right hand lane. Just phenomenal. These players not only for Manchester United but also for England. They were, I remember basically the England squad was more or less the Manchester United squad, wasn't it? In the time when Glenn Hoddle was managing England, and Kevin Keegan, that kind of time, Sven Goran Eriksson. And of course, those were the glory days, really. Even Schmeichel, do you know what I mean? Every name you can mention, the two Nevilles, they were there as well, and just everything was good. Dennis Irwin, just solid at the back, just great midfield, great strikers, great goalkeeper, great defence. Jesus Christ, just just a brilliant team. And then that continued into the noughties. Wayne Rooney came along. The young Ronaldo on his first iteration at the club, he came along. That was brilliant. It's just, I remember seeing Cristiano Ronaldo the first time and thinking, Christ, he sounds like Ronaldo, the other Ronaldo, the Brazilian one. His name's the same, obviously. And I thought he won't be any good. He won't live up to the other Ronaldo, and he's like far surpassed him. When I was a great admirer of that Brazilian team, Roberto Carlos, Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, and all those that ended up with Real Madrid. Anyway, that's another story, but the great Ronaldo coming along like that, all the step overs he used to do that he doesn't do anymore, but just a wonderful team right into the noughties until 2012-13 when Ferguson left. And I think, well, I don't think, I mean, everybody knows that was a time of reckoning, wasn't it? It was a time of saying, like, it's kind of over now, isn't it? So many mistakes have been made since then, and even if you looked at the managers that have been there since then, David Moyes, Van Gaal, the chosen one, Mourinho, Solskjaer. There's another great player from the 90s that I forgot to mention, the so-called super sub. Great players, And in fact, now looking back, only 4 years ago, probably a great manager compared to where we are now. Because I think it slipped after Ferguson went with David Moyes. Well, it slipped in a big way then. But then it slipped further after Solskjaer left as manager. It slipped into a kind of blancmange, a kind of, just, I don't know what I can say about it. Ranić. And then Ten Hag made some dreadful buys. I don't know whether they were at his, hand, but I think most of them would have been. The manager has to nod, don't they? You can't foist a play you don't want upon a manager, I don't think. But it's terrible this last 2 years. It's the worst ever. I think I heard a statistic. It's the worst ever since they played at Newton Heath. Anyway, there it goes. So now there's a rebuild, and none of this answers why I watch the channel, but I'm certainly looking forward to the not why I've made this channel. Certainly looking forward to the rebuild. I'm looking forward to seeing what Amorim does with the team and his damn system. I mean, whether that system will work or not is, I don't know. People say, like, oh, it worked in the Europa League this last season, just gone. And I don't know if it's the system that worked or the fact that we were playing second division European teams. I think it's more to do with that than the actual system. If you look at it, like 4-4-2 system's probably as good as anything. It just seems so obvious, doesn't it? 4-4-2. You know, defence, midfield, two centre forwards. You know, Jesus Christ, it's not hard, is it? You know, and if you look at I was listening to a podcast the other day about Brian Clough, and they were saying he hardly gave any, it was on the overlap with Gary Neville, he hardly gave any tactical advice out, Clough, and just played a 4-4-2 and said, just get the ball and score. I mean, I don't know what Amorim says, you know, with this system, but I think this system bullshit, I think it can complicate a lot of things, which is what a simple game, a beautiful game. It's a perfect game. It's a bit like chess, football. It's perfect. Snooker is another perfect game. You know, it doesn't need fiddling about. You know, I'm a great fan of Ronnie O'Sullivan and you know, Stephen Hendry and how he used to be, and so there's no great art to it. You just have to score a goal or pot a ball, you know. Anyway, so why do I do this channel? Well, the thing is, I moved from Blackpool during the 80s and 90s. I come from Manchester, and that's why I was able to see Manchester team when I lived there, and spent until the year 2004 living in and around Manchester. You know, so I was able to watch football, see football when I couldn't see it or go to it. I would watch it on television, and there were great times. You know, I even did the tour of the club, you know, with a t-shirt and stuff. But and then we moved west coast to Blackpool, which was a mistake looking back. So that was now 21 years ago, and probably going to move back actually to Manchester or somewhere more southern, like Stratford or down there somewhere. But the reason I do this channel is that now this will sound really sad. If any of you have watched this podcast or vlog so far, this will sound like the saddest thing you've ever heard, but I do it because I've got no friends nearby anymore. Not that I'm a Billy No Mates and roaming around the street in tears or anything. It's not a cry for help channel. But it's like, you know, I used to go watching football. You can't build friends up overnight, can you? They come out of time and longevity. So you can't just create friends. Oh, they're my friends, you know, like it would just be weird, especially amongst men. You just don't do that. So all the friends I had and still have in a distant way live in Manchester. The ones I had in Blackpool, fleetingly, were more involved in music than football, so they're not interested in it anyway. And yeah, so this channel is an outlet. I enjoy watching the other channels about Manchester United. You know, Steve Howson and Mark Goldbridge, Alex Talks Football, Alice Talks Football, and you know, there's a few United channels, you know, the ones, if you're a big United fan. And so I enjoy watching those. So I thought the reason I gave this, the second reason was I have a different slant on things. I'm not really a great manager lover. You know, everyone seems to be like, oh, back the manager, do this and do that. But all I've seen since Ferguson left was a load of managerial mistakes. Not to even mention the ownership, who have like an overarching managerial input, which I think has been really detrimental. I think everyone would agree with that. And it's gone worse as well since Ineos took over. I mean, it's gone from bad to worse. I said in an earlier video that probably a Saudi consortium would be a good idea to, buy the club lock, stock and barrel and just start afresh, really. So yeah, I love the club, and there's no one around nearby that I can call a friend, and so I've become a bit of a recluse. So this is an outlet for me to spout a bit of shit out about the club, and I won't be accurate. I'm no great football scholar at all. I know more about snooker, to be honest, but and I can play snooker as well. So so this is for that. It's a kind of outlet that I used to have when I was a massive drinker in the there were good days in the 80s and 90s, really. I was a big drinker and I was out every night. So you mellow as you get older, so I don't have that outlet anymore, and it's a bit of a shame. I miss it. So like I say, I don't want that to sound sad. It just is what it is, as they say in pub philosophy. So there's the reason for doing it. If you like it, subscribe, and no one will ring the bell, will they? You can be asked with that. But if you like it, subscribe, and I might say something that resonates with you. So if it does, leave a comment below. I'll try to reply to them all. Unless it gets really big and blows up, and even then I'll still try to reply to them all. I'm looking forward now to the next season. I don't like this gap in the middle. I mean, I like summer and I like light nights, even though it looks like I'm sat in the dark here. But I don't like this footballing gap. Like Fergie used to say, football's a winter game. So by that I think he meant autumn, winter and spring. But it's not a summer game, is it? So, but in the gap now, there's been loads of buys and sells so far, hasn't there? And speculation from Fabrizio Romano. So there's loads going on and loads of other players coming in and out that I can't even pronounce, like him, pundits. So yeah, we'll see, won't we? I think it might look like a completely new team when we start playing again at the end of August, early September, when the season kicks off. Can't wait to see who we're playing and where we're going, because that's always what a nice big match to open up, like Manchester City or Liverpool. The one of my friends is a big Scouse fan. Been, when Liverpool were big in the 1970s. Keegan and Toshak, them days. He was a lot of kids of my age who grew up in the 70s like me. They cottoned on to Liverpool, so they stayed. Their allegiance stayed that way, and obviously Liverpool seem untouchable, like Manchester City have been recently. Until their little blip in form. So we'll see. Next season should be good. I'm just hoping we don't get relegated. If with all these new players, it needed a new start, didn't it? It needed rubbing out and starting from scratch. Rub it out and start it again, as the song goes that some of you might remember. So we'll see how it goes, and I'll do these videos randomly. I can't commit to anything. I'll speak when I've got something to say, rather than just for the sake of it. And if you like it, like I say, subscribe and please comment below, and see you all soon. All right, cheers, bye.